Hello, YouTube. Good morning or afternoon, whenever you're going to see this. Welcome to the sixth episode in my creative writing series. Suppose that's what I'm going to call it. Uh, and this time we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about plot, and I don't plot, but I do have to have a guideline, right? So, um, what we're going to do is discuss. Um, we're going to discuss plot, but basically that guideline. And then we're going to talk about toolbox, your mental toolbox for writing. I might even discuss what physical items I use other than just a computer. Okay, so getting started, let's go through this real quick. It's this is just a linear idea of where I want the story to go. So Loader wakes up in a black sand plain. Now, I thought this would be a lot more ominous, and so I wanted that to be kind of a dis, kind of a metaphor for where he is in his life, right? He goes over his last recollections. He remembers what he did. He basically cut a guy's throat, stole his purse, and went got drunk, passed out in a ditch, woke up here, right? So that's still the same. Now we did cut out. I'm going to cut out the farmer because we don't need him anymore. You don't want, especially in a short story, you don't want to be grasping at reasons for things. Like he would have to have a reason not to know where he was, and what if he was so far away from the city he's from, nobody even recognizes the name? Or they do, even worse, they do recognize it, they would recognize the name, and it's so far away there's no way he could have been asleep and woke up there. Because there is a supernatural element to this. Okay, that being said, he finally sees the castle and he realizes he has no choice but to head to that castle. The thing about this is not only does he think he has no choice, his first thought is, this is a castle. These people have to be rich. What can I steal from them to make my life better? Loder's a very selfish, angry, petty, brutal, evil human being. Okay? That's what I created as an antagonist. Now, my protagonist is even worse. So you've got bad guy versus bad guy here. And you can do that with a lot of different stories and ideas and character, especially character studies, right? So he gets greeted by the doorman and basically says, we've been expecting you. Now, as the reader, we know that there's a supernatural connotation to this and that they probably are the ones who, and if you do it right, you can hint that, foreshadow that in, that they're the ones that brought him to this place in the first place because they want something from him, right? Because he's a thief. Maybe they need a thief for something. Just like Bilbo was the burglar, just because they needed one, not because he had any experience at it. So anyway, um, and then the doorman plays that off as if it's flat out there. We can see it coming from miles and miles around. And for my non-American people, I guess kilometers around. Uh, he's shown to the baths to clean up and wait for dinner. Uh, After that, he's waiting for dinner. He decides he's going to wander around and take a look. That's what he tells us. But in case in point, we're going to show that he's casing the place. You can go you could have the nicest house in the world, but if all your money is going to pay that mortgage, you don't have any money for furniture or nice things inside. And so you can tell if it's worth robbing or not. And that's what he's doing. Uh, he's going to see things that are like, these people got to have stacks and stacks of cash somewhere to own the kind of things they own. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Um, he returns to the room, and the doorman's waiting on him. And we can have a little byplay in there, a little funny scene where they're both like, the doorman's like, I know what you were doing, And even though Loader knows that the doorman knows what he's doing, he's going to pretend that he was completely innocent. So it's a game being played that we can make kind of funny, right? When he's taken down to dinner and he's surprised to find the lady Solana is waiting for him. Uh, you know, she's wanting to have dinner with him. Now he's going to find it odd that there's no other people other than Doorman and Solana and a guy in armor who doesn't even sit down to the table. He just stands behind her and to her left. Um, so, and he's never going to pull up his visor. This is the Dark Knight, the Dead Knight, the one that that inspired her to turn and create chaos in the world. All right. So, uh, Loader becomes completely and totally lost in her. He's in love. But the biggest point here is that it's possessive love. He wants a possession. That's what she inspires us in him is the worst possible variation, right? So what we see is this kind of love is like a stalker's love, like a serial killer's love. He wants to own that thing, and if he can't own it, nobody can, and it has to be utterly destroyed. But it's at such an intense level that he doesn't even realize that he's done it, that he's fallen, and he can't bring coherent thoughts to argue against something or for something for that matter, right? So at dinner, she discusses a job with him, and he agrees automatically because he's under the spell, right? Um, so he's taken down to the basement room. There's a ritual, which I'm not going to describe here because I want the ending to be a very, I want you to be surprised. If you followed along, you already know the characters, you already know kind of the plot, you already know my processes for these things. And so at the end of the series, either on very next episode, which may take me a week to get done because I've got to have my wife go through it, make sure it's all coherent. There's not words that are uncommon in there unless it's fantasy or science fiction jargon, that kind of thing. And then I'll rewrite. I'll probably rewrite again, and then episode 7 will be that story, and I'm gonna probably end up just putting it into that playlist. But it'll be out there for everybody to view, even if you just want the story and don't want the mechanics behind it. Now, let's talk about your mental toolbox. We, I don't know about other countries in the world, but in America, by the time you're in the fifth or sixth grade, they've taught you all the grammar and beat it into your head until, it's second nature, especially if English is your first language. So, you know grammar, you know the mechanics, you know language arts. Um, so, um, that's one tool. You bring that with you. If you, if somebody tells you, and you need a good critic, somebody you may not even like, to tell you what's wrong with your story so you can fill in the blanks that your mind already filled in for you in your previous iteration. So, that's that tool. The other tool is, other than physical tools, is the willingness to take several different attempts, several different directions. It could veer off where he decides to take and walk around. That could lead us into something else, depending on what he sees. And that's when I write that, it's completely organic. It just ends up in the story. Okay, so that's all there is to it. You got your idea where it came from, your adaptation of that idea, and evolution of it into what you want it to be as a story. You create your characters, you make them as real and fleshed out as possible so they don't look like cardboard cutouts. And then you describe them, and then you go on to the scenes. In order to know the scenes, you've already got that kind of guideline in your head, and it's important to write it down. All right. Now, the way I edit is I print it out, I hand it to my wife. She does a red pen edit, and she's very good at it. To tell me, hey, this nobody's going to understand this word. Hey, you left something out here. It doesn't connect. It doesn't fit. Because as human beings, it's like if you look at my Twitter handle, which is George BD Lucas, George is spelled completely wrong, but your mind fills it in and fixes it for you, and that's pretty much the same thing. So you get a different, I get a different perspective. I go back and I rewrite. When I rewrite, I use a hardback journal and I write it out in pen. You totally don't have to do this. This is my process because of the time period of when I grew up. I'm not as comfortable editing or redoing things inside of a computer setting in Word because it can get confusing for me. So I write it out because these stories are always linear. Um, and then the other reason I do that, when I'm writing it out, I'm thinking about the story as I go. And if I'm gonna add something, I want to make sure that it moves the story along, right? So, um, I also keep a dream journal, and I've had really great success having thought about a story, being working on it, getting to this point. I tend to have vivid dreams about the story. And they can, because it's your subconscious, it can take super ludicrous turns. And that's exciting because if it plays out right and you can follow it without being trampled under inconsistencies, then you're going to end up with real subversion, real twists to that. So, being said, I want to say before I let you go that I very much appreciate the subs. I've grown, heck, in the last 28 days, I've grown 75 subs. And, for a very dry subject on, uh, which most of mine are about writing from a writing perspective and the crudeness of my videos, I know that you guys are going out of your way, and I really appreciate that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. And you guys have a great day. Hey, this is Storyman-Jack. I just wanted to say thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody who tunes in and look forward to seeing you next time. Please, if you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you're the creator and writer of your own story. Make it a great one. Thank you.